Okay. Okay. This is Bridges for Music. In this episode, we joined the Academy during an interview talk with Boys Noise, who joined us during his tour of South Africa. Boysnoize is a Berlin-based electronic music producer, songwriter, and DJ. Please join us as you get insight into the man behind the name.
Without further ado, I present you Boys Noise.
Thanks, Trent. First of all,
we're going to talk lots, so let's... You want to say hello?
Yeah, I want to say hello. I want to say thank you, Trent, for bringing me here. Thank you, Bridges in Music, for making it happen. I'm really, really happy to be here and enjoy.
Cool. We're going to show a 2.5, 3 minute teaser video of the Luciano trip that came out here. What's really important is that we capture all of this in video and then we take it out to the world to show exactly what we're doing. So we're going to just show that. It's like a short clip and then we'll have a chat. Cool, so you guys are now part of this journey officially. So thanks for coming. Welcome to South Africa.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for coming down. Let's just, yeah, come on. Yeah!
No, it's a big pleasure to be here, man. It's been always a dream to come here and to be here and also spend some time here is really awesome, man.
Cool, let's just talk quickly about your trip and why you came down and your Joburg and Cape Town gig. You want to just tell us about that quickly?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I was happy that the festival Rockin' and Daisy invited me over. So when they asked me to play here, I was really happy to come down and stay longer. And you know, for me, the goal was to not just only play, but also take a little bit of your culture with me and to experience. So yeah, it was so cool to hook up with you as well. Trenton showed me a lot. In the scene, we went out to the townships and to a party, and that was so cool. And I've met so many cool musicians already, and it's really great to see, that there's, just like people being so talented and making so much good stuff over here. And it's clearly to see that, circumstances really, do make a lot of things happen or limit a lot of things. So. I'm really happy to be here and to play my music.
Amazing. How was the Daisy set?
It's crazy. Yeah, I played 2 hours and I think I've had one of my best sets ever. Honestly, I've been telling everyone I was so happy.
He's not just saying that now. He told me that yesterday as well. So he's not just trying to make you feel good, okay?
No, it's no. I mean, I play a lot, and sometimes you really have those moments when everything goes right and it's the right vibe and you read the right moment and everything comes together. The people, the music, and then I'll just choose the right records at the right time. So that was cool.
So let's go back and fill people in on some of the things you've done. You've obviously done remixes for massive artists, and we'll get to that. But tell us about how you started in music. What was the first? When did the light go on?
Well, I was just a music lover like everyone. I have a 10 years older brother, so in the end of the 80s, he was listening to all those early house records. And so as a kid, I always loved that music without knowing it was house. And then when I was 11, 12, I started to play drums. It was in the school. It was in the cellar, and no one taught it to me. I was just listening to like records I loved and tried to replay it. And so I had a little band there, but that was just like school stuff. And then when I was like 13, 14, I started to buy records, and I started to buy all those records I knew from my brother. So I worked 2 jobs at the same time to finance the money for the vinyl.
The addiction.
Yeah, and I really know it's true. I really got addicted. I went to the record shop almost every day, and then so that was like a house techno record shop in Hamburg where I grew up. And then at one point, my boss, my upcoming boss, he was like, "Yo, you're here every day. Why don't you start working here?" So I started working in a record shop, and that for me was really, you know, a big thing because I got in touch with much more of the music. I was able to dig in the labels, and I started to build my record collection. And then one day, really, like my boss, he knew I was able to mix, and I even tried to sell my mixtapes in his shop, which is kind of stupid because who would buy a mixtape from some guy who works in a record shop, you know? But anyway, he was like he was giving me the chance to do a warm-up gig in one of the famous house clubs. It was like a 500 venue house club, and it was a birthday party from one of the local DJs, really famous DJ back then. So I was opening up, I was in the club, it was empty, and I was playing like more deep house, Chicago house and stuff like this. And slowly the club filled up, and people were always like, "Who's this kid?" You know. And I mean, I was super slimmy, and I was like 16. So people started talking about me, and really that night really changed my life, because after that, like, a lot of people started booking me, and I got into producing as well.
Well, when did that change happen? How did you realize that you wanted to do more than just play tunes?
I think it was really that one night, because, like, you know, I really felt like, you know, music was always the biggest part of my life, and I felt, you know, really connected. But I never knew, because, like, you know, your parents, they want you to finish school and, you know,
get a real job.
Yeah, my brother, he was kind of crazy, so he didn't really do well in school. So I tried, you know, to be, I don't know, the better brother in a way. But no, that night really, I thought this is actually it, you know. And yeah, and I was my first tracks, I started to produce them on, you know, I just. Actually, it was more like DJing, you know, like I had like, you know, meshing up 2 records and then recording that into a shitty computer. And then after that, I had 1 computer, and I started to make tracks on that. And I got more and more DJ gigs. So from those DJ gigs, I would buy more vinyl and buy my first drum machine as well, like you know, the classic 808 drum machine. So I started to make my first tracks with that as well, and things start to build on that.
Did you find that as you were slowly starting to get into, there was a lot of knowledge sharing? Because sometimes we're not so good at like sharing the knowledge, you know? Did you find you had mentors and people that actually sort of took you under their wing and helped you grow and develop?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think it's really important to have a mentor or someone that, you know, helps you. And for me, that's one of the reasons why I also run a label nowadays, to, you know, I find young producers and I want to help them, because back then it was my boss from the record shop, and it was just locally, and there was no internet at that time. Or, I mean, I didn't have a computer, but like it just started to grow. It was like in the end of the 90s. So yeah, I think it's important to, you know, have someone that helps you out, and because you can't do everything, you know. You have a great talent and you make music, but, you know, you can't do everything at the same time. So, of course, I was happy that there were people who support me, and eventually it got a word around, you know. First of all, it was just DJ gigs locally in my town, or like a little bit outside, like in another city in Germany, like Berlin or Cologne. And then after I started producing, you know, the music was basically just for DJs. So I started to send my music out to other labels, and I had a DJ gig with like 2 big, well-known DJs back then, like DJ Hell from Gigolo Records, and I gave him my demos, and the next day he called me. He's like, "Oh shit, this is awesome, I want to put it out." So my first record came out in 2004, and then I put out another record on another label as well, and it was just like EPs with a few tracks. And then slowly after, I really thought, because I was making so much music, I had like hundreds of tracks, and it always took a little bit long to release the music on other labels. And I thought, if I make my own label, I can just put out stuff all the time. So I had an idea for my label, and I had so much music, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it myself now. And I started to you know, put all my money into pressing vinyl, because back then it was just when Beatport started, but there was not really much MP3 around yet. So I was pressing vinyl, like 1,000 vinyl, and I was sending promos to, like, I would pack up like packages and find out the address from all the big DJs and send it directly via post and get a fax back with feedback and stuff like this. And that was like for the first 4 or 5 releases, they were just my own with different names and different projects. And that's how my label Boysnoize Records started, really. And one thing after another, you know, just started, because a lot of people started to play my music, just DJs. It was just club music only. And then I was really lucky because MySpace came up, you know, and I was like, oh shit, finally I can put my music in the internet and more people outside of the DJs can listen to my music, because you can only listen to my music in certain record shops. So after that, a lot of things have changed, because then people asked me to do remixes, and bands started to ask me to do remixes, and yeah.
Let's talk about some of those, because I know that every time I hear about other people you've remixed, I was like, really? So just some of them off the top of my head, like NERD, Daft Punk, Chemical Brothers, any more? I mean, you've done some really big remixes. What remix is one of the highlights for you in terms of tracks you put out?
I mean, yeah, of course, doing an official remix for Daft Punk was crazy, of course, because they were definitely one of my influences. Like that first album when that came out in '96, that was one of my first electronic albums as well. And one of the guys, Thomas Bangalter, he had his own label as well called Roulé. And on that label, he put out more like harder techno stuff, but really minimal. And that really shaped me as a DJ. Like when I DJ, I play mostly like jacking, housey techno stuff, but a bit more harder. And yeah, so that was cool. And I always enjoyed to do remixes for other music other than electronic, because I always found it more harder to remix a house or techno track rather than like a band or like a, I don't know, Feist, for instance, you know, something that hasn't anything to do with music, with electronic music.
You didn't get that. I didn't either.
So yeah, yeah, I always loved doing that, and yeah, yeah.
And when you approach a remix, you just get the separates, and do you try and remix in like a certain style? Do you have like a remix style, or is it just quite varied?
I mean, yeah, you know, so when you do a remix, they send you the individual elements of the original song, so you get the vocals, the guitar, or the drums, or whatever. And most of the time, you know, all the remixes I've agreed to were remixes for people that I like, or the other way around. I would never do a remix for someone I think is not cool. So I always thought, okay, it's important to have, you know, my name next to something.
So do you have like
cool.
a coolometer, like you see, you measure
yeah, I
it,
mean, you know, yeah. And most of the time, you know, I have an idea already when I hear the original song, or I just take the vocal and build new music around it. But you know, yeah, it really depends. Like most of the time, I have an idea already when I hear the song.
I want to talk about work ethic, because you know, as I said, it's 80% will, 20% skill, etc. And you said that you were like mailing out albums and vinyl to DJs and just doing it yourself, DIY. And obviously, you're part of the generation of the whole transformation into the digital space. How important is it to be on your game in that sense?
Yeah, it is true. You know, like there's, you know, that's what I said before as well. There's so many talented producers down here, you know, and as I said, I think, you know, circumstances can limit yourself. But I think, you know, if if you always think like, man, he's doing this, I can do it too, you know, like I think this is a good motivation for anyone, you know, like if you think, you know, the drive to make something and to reach out to people, I think that's important too. And but you know what, I mean, I didn't learn anything, you know, I didn't learn sound engineering or producing. I really taught everything myself, and just for the love of the music and the love for what I do. And I think, you know, good stuff. And if you create your own sound, or if you find a way to stick out of what everyone else is doing, you know, I think that helps a lot. Because, you know, simple example is, you know, you go to a record shop, or you listen to 100 records, and in the end you just buy 3 records, or you just like 3 records because they sound different or they have something special. And I think this is the most important, really, to have to try to have your own sound. And then, yeah, you're right, you know, you gotta, if you believe in it, you gotta push it and you gotta be behind it. And for me, there was never anything I had to think about. It just came out of me naturally.
So tell us a bit more about your label, because one thing that's obviously very interesting running a label as an artist is it gives you a bigger power base. It gives you an opportunity to connect with lots of more people. How much time do you spend on that compared to working on your own stuff? And can you just give us a few, what kind of style you're putting out through that? How are you mentoring these young guys you're talking about?
So, yeah, I mean, I basically spend every day doing my label. What I do most is I just look out for new music, you know. Nowadays, I go on SoundCloud, I check out producers on SoundCloud, or I listen to demos people send me, or friends of mine send me stuff from their friends because they say, yo, you should check it out, he's good. And you know, there's many ways of getting my attention, and most of it is when I hear something that sounds different. But yeah, it is every day, and I talk to all of the artists on my label a lot. I've signed around 10 to 15 other young DJs and producers, and it's basically everything electronic. It's a lot of house, it's a lot of techno, it's more electro. There's some rap we're doing as well, like Spank Rock from the US, or there's this guy Leaf. We put out his EP. It's more like tropical rap. I don't know, C-punk. That was last year.
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah, but like, you know, I'm really open to anything good quality electronic music. It's the same when I DJ. You know, like when I started DJing, I always like to mix up different things. You know, like play a house record and then play something more dub, or a disco record, or play some hip hop with it. And for me, there is no real boundaries, you know. So I do the same on my label, you know, like to mix up stuff, and I think it's the best.
You did a track with I don't know, Snoop Dogg, as it says online, but I don't know if you did it before he became Snoop Lion, or is it Snoop Dogg? Or is it Snoop Lion?
It's Snoop Dogg.
It's Snoop Dogg. Tell us about how that came about and the experience, because it's quite an interesting story.
Yeah, that's a funny story, because...
has everyone heard the track? Okay, no, that's not the one. That's YouTube.
I wish it was dropped like it hot. No, the track is called Got It. It's on my last album. It's the first and only collaboration I've ever done. I always thought collaborations were kind of lame, and I want to put out original stuff without anyone singing on it. Anyway, he asked me, or no, his label asked me to do a remix, official remix for him for the track Sexual Seduction. That was a few years ago. And I did it, and they accepted it, and they put it out. And then 1 year after, I came across Twitter. And I didn't know how it worked, so I was like, okay, cool, now I can talk to everyone. So the first thing I did on Twitter was like @ Snoop Dogg, and I was like, hey man, did you ever check out the remix I've done for you? And he replied right away. He was like, yeah man, I love it, send me more beats. and then he sent me a contact to one of his managers. And so I kept sending beats, like, I don't know, besides my own music, I make a lot of other beats and stuff that I wouldn't put out under my name, but so I sent him a lot of like rap beats with like electronic elements and stuff, and it never happened to get him recording or anything, because he was on a big label, and the big label gets the producers, and you know, it works a bit different. So, but he liked all the beats that I was sending him, and I knew that from the contact he gave me. So I kept in touch with this guy, and we actually made friends. When I played in LA, I met up with that guy, and he was like, "Yo, he loves your stuff, but you know, it's really hard to get him record over it and stuff." So it took like 2-3 years until he actually left the big label. And then he was like, "Yo, man, now is a good time." And I sent him like a really fresh new beat, which I thought he has to love it. And he did, apparently. And he was listening to it, and he's like, "Yo, man, I want to meet this guy." And so I met him in a club, and we smoked a joint and stuff. And
Of course.
I know, honestly, besides that, best spliffs I've ever smoked in my life.
And
Crazy.
And he didn't roll it, huh?
No, yeah. He's got that really young, skinny white guy who rolls joints for him all day. It's true. And funny thing is, so I was hanging out one day, and like they got some like where the management is, there's some offices, and he was around, and they were watching some basketball game, I don't know. And then he was like, "Yo, later tonight we're gonna go to his place and record the track." So he had already the instrumental, he knew it. And so late at night, we went to one of his apartments, and it was really like this little shack, and like his friends were hanging out. It really felt like being 15 again, and you know, going to Mapuche to buy some weed, you know, that kind of vibe. And then the guy the guy who rolls his joints, you know, he turned out to be his engineer as well. So he was like, "Yo, give me the track." And he put it in Pro Tools. They set up the, you know, the mic by the toilet in his little apartment, and then, but nothing happened. Like we were waiting till like 5 in the morning, and nothing happened. I was like, and it was like after the 10th time already, my friend from his management was like, "It's gonna happen, it's gonna happen." I was like, "No, man, it's never gonna happen." So apparently he fell asleep in the other room, and.
You were afraid to go knock.
Yeah, no. But yeah, then I left, and then the next morning he called me. He's like, "Yo, Snoop just called me. He's recording on it right now." I'm like, "What? This is crazy!" And like, yeah, so apparently he got up, you know, in his underwear, I don't know, like
Split
record right away. It's crazy shit. So yeah, and then later that day, I collected the stems and worked on it at home in Berlin, and. Yeah,
it's a great story when the industry has become such a big industry that ultimately creativity can happen anytime, anywhere, and it's very inspiring to hear that story.
It's crazy. Yeah, I thought the same. You know, like, especially with Snoop. You know, you think you meet someone that big, and like you go to those fancy LA studios. I've been in that too, and it's a weird vibe, you know, and it's. Anyway, like, yeah, it was really magical.
Amazing. So another sort of big, prolific artist that you're very close with, who was out here recently for a Bridges Music Workshop and to play was Skrillex. Yeah, come on, give Skrillex a hand. Tell us how that meeting happened, and I know you have a project with him. You could tell us a bit about that as well.
Yeah, I've met Sonny a few times on a festival, because we played a lot of festivals together in the US in like 2011. That's when he started to get big as well. And he always came up to me. He's like, "Yo, man, you're my favorite DJ. I love your music." And I was like, "Cool, man. That's awesome. And thanks a lot. I like your stuff too." So that was the first time. And then
backslapping and hugging and
yeah. And then last year.
Were there any joints involved?
Yeah. Always. No. But yeah, last year I took some time off for the first time. I spent the summer in Berlin and was working on my new album. So he was playing in Berlin. I was just like, yo, man, come over to my studio, hang out. So he came around and we were just listening to music, and I didn't really plan to do anything. And we were just vibing and listening to music. And you know, in my studio I have a lot of drum machines and stuff, and I think a lot of the stuff he's never seen, like he's never seen like a real 808 drum machine stuff. So he's like, oh shit, let's record some of that. So we recorded some of it, and then I gave him the stuff, he puts it in his computer, he messed around with it, and we came up with like three tracks, and they were really good. Like we were like, oh, this rocks. Like I was playing it out, he was playing it out, and we didn't want it to call it like Boys Noise or Skrillex or something like this, because I don't know. And then few months later, we decided to put it out under a new name as Dog Blood. But you know, in the beginning, we didn't tell anyone. That was last year in August. We put out 2 tracks for like 8 months, 9 months. Nobody knew it was us really, besides maybe some really fans that know everything, you know. But we didn't announce it, and then earlier this year in March we did our first DJ gig together on a festival in the States, and that was the first time when we announced, yo, we have this project called Dog Blood.
That was Ultra, yeah?
That was Ultra,
okay.
yeah. And then we made some new tracks this year as well, and we just put them out actually though.
So,
yeah.
so you performed with Snoop at Ultra and with Skrillex?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Nice.
It was
Very
really
nice.
crazy, yeah.
Let's talk about the live show. I know you put emphasis on lighting and stuff on stage, and how did that come about? How did you realize that you needed to evolve and create a spectacle, if you like?
Well, you know, I've been DJing on most of the festivals already a few times, and every time I DJ, I don't really like to play my old tracks. I rather play like something they don't know, or my new tracks they don't know, or new stuff on my label. But you know, when people go to the festival and they see your name, and especially when you have your own music as well, and I've put out 2-3 albums, so a lot of people expected to hear my music, and so I thought, okay, I gotta create a live show where I just play my own music. So I was last year again, when I was working on my last album, I was thinking, okay, how can I create this and to make it fun? So I was working on a like a live show where I can, you know, have fun with my own music and have all my stems, you know, separately and remix it live or edit it live. And so yeah, I came up with that, and that was cool, and I really love it too. And it's good to have now both worlds, you know, where it's more like a band where I can play my own music, or I do a DJ set where it's just, you know, playing music from other people basically.
Tell us about your perception of the South African industry before you came down. Obviously, you were starting to make noise overseas. Had you heard a lot of stuff before you came down? Are you feeling the energy coming from the south up?
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was always a good scene down here. Even a few years ago, one of the guys on my label, his name is Jetrotronic, he came down here, he played here, he was telling me, this scene is crazy, there's a really good underground scene. That was around 2007 and 8. And he recorded a track with Spuk. There's a famous...
Spuk Matambo.
Yeah. And we put it out on Boysnoize Records. That was like 3-4 years ago. And it was always for me like a dream to come here. And I knew, you know, there's so much talented people here and so much great musicians. And obviously it's hard for us to find out, you know. And I know some labels, they put out stuff like Hyperdub from the UK, they're great. So I was really excited to come here, and for me it was really important to take some time and, you know, meet people and meet producers and meet DJs and to get a sense for the vibe. And I've got to say I'm really blown away because like you really got your own sound here and you created something crazy like a good house scene, a good house sound, which is different, you know. And I'm I really want to try to get more involved with that, and you know, try to help out or find some guys, you know, put out some. I don't know, you know, just I'm really
Don't worry, bro.
feeling.
We'll be on the phone to you, hustling you.
But you know, I'm really feeling, you know, there's a lot of will and there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of talent, and it just needs, you know, people to find out about it and ways to find out about it. And I think it's not that far, you know. I think it's that close for people to be like, what the fuck, you know, we missed all of this all the years, you know. So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a very genuine thing, and I've enjoyed spending the last few days with you because I can really feel a real genuine passion and willingness to engage with us. So thank you very much for that. And you could have got straight on a plane and flown straight out, but you spent another like 5-6 days here, and that means a lot to us that you're here.
Thank you. No, thank you for bringing me here, man. I really appreciate it.
Cool. We'll open up to the floor for some questions.
If you want to listen to these conversations live and have access to this incredible community, you can join us at our physical campus, the Bridges Academy in Langa, South Africa. A revolutionary learning space where you will find courses on music, entrepreneurship, film, DJing, and much more. For more information on how to apply, visit bridgesacademy.org.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, like, I actually literally just forgot my question. I'm like,
You've been hanging with Snoop
Next.
Dogg.
like I can't believe it's, you know, it's him and everything. Like, when you it was about like how you make your music, you know, like when you started playing with Skrillex. I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember my question.
So go, bro.
Sorry, dude.
Well, I mean, I use a program called Logic. I've been using it for 15 years, so I'm really comfortable with it. I'm really quick with it too. I sample a lot, you know, like back then. I just used like, I sampled hip hop beats, you know, like I buy whatever hip hop records and I take those drums and use them for my tracks and, you know, stuff like this, you know, like actually a bit like hip hop style, but I like more house and techno.
And I think earlier we were talking, you said it's really important that it doesn't matter what DAW you're actually using, you just need to know how to use it well. And a lot of our guys are using like Fruity Loops and Reason.
Exactly. That's so true, you know, like I think even nowadays it's so great that you don't need anything, you just need a computer, need a program, and honestly, like it doesn't matter what you're using, it's more what comes out of it and what you make out of it.
Question over there.
What's up, bro? Big respect. I must say, I've got two questions for you. With regards to your sets, do you specifically go out of your way to play more of your own original music? And when you're watching other international DJs, do you find it a bit disappointing when they don't play mostly their own songs?
I mean, I think it's fair enough, you know, if you have your own songs and you're a big DJ, I think it's, as I said, you know, if you play, it's different. Like when you play a festival, I think a lot of people expect to hear your own music, and so I can't say anything against it to have DJ play their own music. I don't know, like I think for me a good DJ, you know, really is about reading the crowd and going for the moment, and it can be so different, you know, like you play a small club, you play a festival, you play many people, you play 100 people. I think a good DJ can read that and go into that and you know, adapt to that and interact with that. So if you can do that with your own music, that's great, you know. I mean, I always play my music as well. As I said, I don't like to play music that I've put out already or that is too old, because for me DJing is, and why I still DJ is because of the sounds and the music, you know. There's always new records come out that inspire me to DJ and that I like to share with everyone. So that's just my opinion.
Respect.
Cool. Next question. Okay, this one over here.
How's it, man? For every track that you release that you're like really happy with and you want to send out there to the public, how many tracks do you have on your hard drive that that are cool but that you didn't feel like made the cut?
Oh, there's a lot. You know, I think a lot of producers, and maybe some of you sit here know, you know, when you make music every day, and sometimes you make a few beats every day, or one or two or three. And yeah, you can't make good stuff all the time, you know. Actually, Thomas Bangalter from Daft Punk told me a lot of great artists define through the music they don't put out. So, so you gotta, you know, you gotta have your own like sense for it, and I've been really happy to finish music quite easy and to be happy with it. I know a lot of other producers, they work months or weeks on one track and they think about it. And I mean, you know, my music, I wouldn't say my music is really, you know, deep or like it's like a crazy song or something, you know. It's just electronic music. It's more about sounds. So for me, I see it more easy. But there's a few tracks that I haven't put out. Just because, you know, one day you make something like this and the other day you make something like this, and yeah, again, not everything's, you cannot make great music all the time, you know, so.
We have a South African word
Cool,
for
thanks.
it. It's called kak. Yeah, it's a kak tune. Put it in the archive.
Yeah, it's the same in Germany, it's Kacke too.
Cool. Right, another question. I can't see you guys that well, so where's the mic? Where's
This
the
guy
mic?
in the back, yeah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Niera. The question I want to ask you, man, is that which you prefer the best to do from scratch or remix, or you just sampling? Which do you want like to prefer the best when it comes to composing?
I think, personally, I think sampling is great. I mean, I think, you know, if you sample, then sample smart, you know, like if you take a big piece and just use it like this, that's one thing, but I think sampling, for me, it always helps me to build, you know, for instance, one day I would start with a sample, I'd program it, like fuck it up a little bit, and then I build drums around it, I build new sounds around it, and then eventually you can take off the sample and you have a new track. That happens a few times. Or it can happen the other way around. You start something, you start a beat with like whatever 808 beats and put some sounds, and then you put in a sample and suddenly it opens a great harmonic or something that inspires you to add those harmonic sounds on top. And I mean, I know sampling is not allowed really, but I think it's a big part. I think it's a big part of house and whatever, hip hop and rap, and you know, I think it's cool to use it, but I like to do both. I do music with samples, I do music without samples. It really depends, but I think yeah, starting something from scratch with like just a rhythm, I think that's probably the best, and then you can, you know.
So you like the sampling?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think.
Yeah, okay, man.
I look out for samples all the time, honestly.
Okay,
like,
You have some samples, brother.
Okay, that's it.
I think it's cool because, like, I mean, I went to Mabu Records yesterday. I found some good stuff to sample. It's not that you're gonna hear. Like, as I said, I think you gotta find a smart way that you can't notice it. And I think nowadays you can really twist it up so no one will ever hear what the original song is. And as I said, if you build sounds on top of it, you might be happy to just take it out, you know, and then you don't have any problems. But it's always a good thing, I think, creatively and just for the fun of making music, to sample whatever, man. I don't care.
We'll take another question, but I just got a quick one for you. So you grew up in Hamburg, but moved to Berlin. Richie Horton, who was out here a while ago, also moved to Berlin. And we always have this debate here about guys moving to Joburg for the house scene. we're trying to develop our own scene. How important do you think cities are and moving to cities that have scenes or creating your own? What's your take on that?
Berlin. I'm from Hamburg, so Hamburg was always super house driven. Like there was a big deep house scene. There is a big deep house scene, and still house is most what you hear in clubs, underground clubs. So there's this, and Berlin was always actually the techno city. So it was more harder, more faster, more darker. And when I moved to Berlin, I was 20 years old. I really liked that. Like it was really refreshing for me because, as I said, I started with house and deep house and stuff, and like Chicago stuff. And when I came to Berlin, I could really feel a new vibe. And I think cities can have their own sound, and there are a lot of cities that had their own sound. And it's in the UK, they always have their new sound. France got their French touch 2-3 times already. Germany was known for the minimal techno stuff. I don't know. So I think cities can be inspiring, and I think for me it was really refreshing moving the city as well. And I'm actually starting to think about moving again. I don't know where or what. Sorry? Yeah, maybe, you never know.
We got good weed here, bro.
I love it here.
I promised myself I wasn't going to talk about that again, but it just seemed appropriate. Yeah, I think it's really important is that the scene is still growing here. So if you want to go to Joburg, don't work it here, because it's going to blow, okay? It already is starting to grow.
Yeah.
Work it here.
And what I always can see is like, right now I think like I've been in LA a few times, and there's suddenly a good scene coming up. For me, the US was always really cheesy and commercial. Of course, there was always great hip hop and rap, but when it came to dance music, it was always like really, really cheesy. But right now in LA, there's a really cool scene coming up, like from a lot of guys that just make beats, and it's like some house influences with rap influences. And what I see is like they all hang out together. It's like different labels, different DJs, but in the end, they're all like connected. And I think that's what makes it strong, and that what make a sign for outside was like there is a scene, and this scene is a it's like a big crew. Although within the big crew there is different labels or producers, but they all do their thing. But in the end, they all stick together as well, and I think that's great for a city.
Question. There's one at the front here.
Alex.
Maybe if you can just... Oh, someone got the mic.
How's it?
Cool.
Alex, when you're busy producing, like, are you ever tempted in making a more, what do you think might be accessible Boys Noise beat? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, of course. There's always, it's always in my head, to make, especially like a few years ago, like 2-3 years ago, when dance music kind of blew up in more or less in the States, because in Europe it was always pretty big, and every one of those big guys, like the big pop guys, were looking for dance music producers. And they contacted me as well, but it's tough for me because like I can't really. I know how those more commercial dance records are done, but on the other way I can't do it because it's not what I really feel, So I always try to listen to really what my heart says and what my feeling is towards it, and in the end, I make music for music. I don't make music to make money, and that's how I started. I was a DJ in my bedroom, and I was just making mixtapes, and I just did it because I loved it. I played drums because I loved it, and it's not because you want to make $1 million, So for me, that's just my way, and I know there's a lot of people who make it out of a business, but I don't know. It's tough. I don't know. But of course, it's in your head, It's tempting. It's tempting for a lot of friends of mine as well, and just because it's so close, but then it's so far as well, and I don't know. I'm so happy where I am right now, you know. So I get booked to South Africa, you know. So I don't need to have anything, you know. If everything can stay how it is right now, I'll be happy. So yeah,
keeping it true, huh?
yeah. I think it's important.
Cool. Another question. There was one in the front. Maybe just stand up and speak before the mic comes. Oh, there we go. It's there. Good work, Lee.
Cool. I just want to find out from you now with the project with Skrillex. How do you decide, you know, how much time to spend on each act, like on Boys Noise, on Dog Blood? I mean, with Terry and your record company as well. How do you decide how much time each alias or each person gets, you know, to both or to make them all successful?
Well, first of all, the stuff I do with the label, you know, I'm basically doing all the creative stuff. I decide what music comes out. I talk to the artists. All of that I can do when I travel. Like I wake up in a hotel, I can talk to the artists, I can call them, I listen to demos on the road. That's all good. When it comes making music with other people, for me, I try to, or not I try to, it's more like, more also a feeling, like when I'm, sometimes there are phases where you feel really inspired and sometimes less, and for me it's great to have projects sometimes with other people because it really leads you into something else again, and you find new inspiration through that, and it's great to work with other people that inspire you as well, you know, and that put a lot of effort, because when I work with someone, I want to put my best ideas in it, you know, and if you feel like you get it back from the other person, it's great, and I think that's really the best scenario, and yeah, just go with the flow, really, like if it happens to be working with someone, or I'm back home and I make music, or I take some time off. It's something I can't really control, you know. Like, but yeah, it's again, I like to work with other people sometimes just for to try out new things and get out of your own world, you know.
Cool. Next question.
Question is going to be rhetorical or anything like that. But I heard about you, Black Noise, but I've never heard what you play. What? Sorry? Yes.
Boys Noise. That's all good.
I've never heard you play before, you know, and for some reason while you were talking, you said something about hip hop. You do hip hop beats?
Yeah, I produce, I mean, not under my name, like my own music is more electronic and probably more like my earlier stuff was a bit more punk in an electronic way, and I do play, when I DJ, it's again different than the music I produce, but as a producer I do make rap or hip hop as well, but it's not coming out under Boys Noise. Probably the only rap thing you would hear from me is the stuff I would produce for Spank Rock or this one track with Snoop or something.
Okay, man. One more thing. No disrespect or anything like that, but I just feel like, you know, this whole room is crowded with a lot of artists. You know, you got DJs up in here, you got hip hop guys, you got R&B guys. So since you came all the way from Germany, man, down here, we just felt like, you know, on behalf of every artist that's up in here, don't you want to hear maybe, you know, open up a mic session or something like that and hear what we got? Is it like that?
We've actually been around to some of the studios and giving music to him. So if you have stuff here, please.
Fuck yeah, man! I want to hear all your shit, man. Like, if you have a CD, if you have a USB, give it to me, man. I've been as he said, man. We went out to another township. I was listening to other DJs. I loved it. I went today to another homie, DJ Foster. You probably know him. I checked out some of his music, and you know, I'm really keen to hear what you got, man.
Okay.
I don't know if it's possible to have an open mic.
Oh,
whatever.
we would actually love that. We would actually love that. We would actually love that before you close down this whole show. We would actually like to get up on that stage and do something for the whole audience up in here, man.
Okay, we'll have a conversation afterwards.
Right.
Not after, right at the end, after this session.
It's
next
cool.
question.
But I wanna give you one last thing though. You know, I love rap and everything, but I'm actually more into beats and productions. I am probably I have to be real. I'm not the best guy to judge who's the best rapper. I'm not, you know, if I'd be born in America or down here and understand more of the stuff, I would probably be, I go more for flows or tones of a voice. If you rap some stuff and I don't know what you're rapping about, I'm not the best guy to judge about rappers. Sometimes I had bad moments in the US and they're like, yo, this is so good. I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, you know? So I love, if you got some beats, I can give you more input on like beats and production rather than rap, but I still want to hear you rapping though.
Cool. Two more questions. Two more questions. Okay, I think there's someone over there.
Osman. Well, I checked that you're very diverse in your music and all of that, and you mentioned deep house, like you started off there. And I've been into deep house, you know, my whole life, local talk records, Novus, free range, everything. And what I've noticed is like you check Beatport, you'll go in the top 10, and it's like very commercial now. So, and to find new stuff, it's extremely difficult. Like I find myself going on SoundCloud and checking out new guys, and you know, it's getting a bit difficult. So what I want to know is, how do you feel about the deep house scene being commercialized?
I mean, it's basically with everything, a lot of styles, you know, when once there's a hype and everybody starts to, you know, produce the same kind of stuff or gets too much inspired by something and it sounds too much the same. I don't know, it's like, that's what I said earlier, like if you find your own sound, that's the best. And with Deep House, I mean, I find a lot of good stuff on SoundCloud for sure. I think you find good stuff on Beatport as well, or whatever. I don't know, in the internet. You just gotta dig deeper, man. I mean, there's so much good stuff like I don't know, Lies Records, or I don't know, Kyle Hall from Detroit I really like, or like I don't know, Anthony Naples, and this good stuff. You just gotta find it. And I mean, once it's something that's in the top 10 in Beatport, I don't care really, because that's something everybody plays. And you know, as a DJ, I want to try to stick out and not play what everyone plays. It was the same when I was working in a record shop. When you see everyone's playing the same record, for me, it was not as exciting. So, yeah.
Showman.
You won Best Producer of the Year on Beatport for 3 years in a row now.
Was it?
How the hell did you do that?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, no, I was of course happy, but I don't know.
Does that work on, I don't actually know how that works. Does it work on a voting system? Is there a panel that decides that? Do you know how it works?
I think it works simply through sales, and before Beatport got that commercial, like in the last 1-2 years, it was easier for underground music to be more up in the charts, but honestly, it's not really about that.
One more question. One more question. I see someone at the back there with two hands in the air.
Last question.
Okay, I'm going to ask one question. This is more like a production question. One of my favorite remixes of yours is the one you did for Feist, My Man, My Man. Yeah, just wanted to ask two things. First of all, how long did that take you? And second of all, because you know, I know how long it takes me to do a remix when Dave and I are sitting in the studio. And second of all, how did you get that vocoded sound in the beginning of that track?
I'll tell you. That sound, that vocoded sound, is a talk box. It's like a little box with a tube, and you play a synth, and the synth sound comes through the tube just like the bottle, and you put the thing in your mouth, and you kind of recreate the sound with your mouth, like Zapp and Rogers, you know.
Yes.
They did it,
So
or like Chromeo nowadays. The one guy does it really well too. Zapp and Rogers, one of the guys, he put out his teeth here in order to talk clear. It's really difficult, man. It's really difficult. And there's certain words which are easy to say, and some are just impossible to say. Like man was really easy. I tried other words, I forget about it.
Can you say cuck? Huh?
maybe. But yeah, so that's the voice sound, and I did this with the talkbox and a really low synth, and it was pretty fast. Like with most of the stuff I put out, I like when I finish a track really fast. For me, actually, sometimes the 2-hour, 3-hour tracks you make are the best because like sometimes I don't know, like it's more about the vibe sometimes rather than a full crazy production. Sometimes you can make a great thing to play out, and I like simple things to as a DJ. I like super simple things, stupid music sometimes. It's for me the funniest to play out, and yeah, I remember that one maybe took like 2-3 days. And I recently went back to the project because I was working on my live show. I thought I can get some elements in. And I noticed that I put everything on mono. All of Feist vocals were all on mono because back then I didn't know it would make more sense to have one vocal here and one vocal there. But yeah, you get the vibe of it, and
Thanks.
cool.
Cool. Hold. Because that is not good enough, people. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for taking the time and supporting Bridges for Music and sharing knowledge with us. Coming into the studios and the townships and meeting people and sharing, it means a huge amount to us. Really, really does mean a huge amount to us.
Appreciate it too, man. Thanks so much.
So now you can give a big round of applause to Boys Noise. Alex, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as we do making them. Remember, if you'd like to attend any of these workshops live, enroll in any of our upcoming programs. To support the work we do, you can find more information on bridgesformusic.org. Please don't forget to subscribe, as we'll be bringing new inspiring conversations soon. Until next time, keep safe.